So whereabouts in Australia are you, Paul T?
Noosa.
Oh, okay. Looks cold
Yeah.
up there, is it? Is it cold?
No, I just
Very cold.
I think that probably the attire is probably overstating.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's not overly cold. It's just a bit fresh.
Hmm.
Well, I was a bit late to that last bit of the conversation earlier. I'm just curious, like, if we go to a state of no thought, that silence that we search for, if it's a search, but on occasion that we find ourselves in that silence and there's no story to go with it. Truth, no truth, whatever terms you want to call that point to be, nothing really exists in that other than just then, just this, or what's happening.
But you wouldn't call that nothing, would you? That's everything.
Well, it's everything, but nothing occurs in the mind. So the contradictions that we establish in this conversation, or the thought processes, really doesn't matter.
No.
So whether we call it truth or whether we call it truth or something else, it's just not consequential, really, is it?
What we call it isn't. A relationship to it might be if we believe it. You know? So, yeah, there might be consequences of, you know, responding happens to our relationship with things, not to the thing itself. So if we feel a certain way as a result of its presence,
The presence of the thought story, you're saying, or
yes, yeah.
yeah.
So the presence is irrelevant. It's how we feel about the presence. That's where the responding or reactions take place. That's where meaning is applied, created.
It's interesting what you just said, Paul. It reminds me of a recent interview I happened to listen to with Angelo De Lulo with somebody, and they said unequivocally, there is absolutely, I am pure open awareness, and there is absolutely no self, or something. It was something like that. It was, and then thinking about coming from the terms of belief, and it starts questioning. There wasn't any real questioning, but when you think about, I suppose it's a question of belief or no from the experience, but somehow there does seem to be a possibility of a questioning of that, since we're talking about questioning of truth, and from the point of view of that single pointed, fully open place where there is no thought, there is no beyond concepts. There's a little bit of a, yeah, I suppose it's just the paradox going.
So was there a question in that, Paul? What were you?
Well, I was sort of, I don't know, it was not really, I didn't really ask the question. It was just like any comments on what I just mentioned.
For me, no, there's no question. It was just a curiosity, really.
Yeah.
because Mag's not here to discuss further, but it just seems that like this talk about truth is about, well, I can't tell you what it's about because I don't know what the truth is, but just from my own experiences with, modalities like Vipassana, the ultimate truth was always talked about, always discussed as the questions are answered in the ultimate truth. And so from my own personal experience, I can't see anything past that stillness, that silence, that state of just not having anything going on upstairs. And in that state, or in that, whatever the term we called, really, you could just be, if you could stay in that state permanently, then nothing, no thought really. It doesn't really matter. As you said, it's just everything and everything happening. And obviously we get drawn back into that thought state. And then, it becomes functional. But even in its functionality, it's just that, okay, what is the truth then?
There isn't any truth.
Exactly.
I mean, would we find it helpful to talk about a personal truth, right? Not an absolute truth. What is true for you or true for me? That changes it a little bit from an ultimate truth, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely it does. Because it just becomes back to the relative
But it
individual,
also,
doesn't it?
even if I say what's true for me, I fossilize it. I create something stable and unmoving and unchanging that can't possibly exist. So even that one doesn't have much. It's just hot air for me. I can say what is true for me in this instant, but I can't talk about it like it's stable, like it's always going to be the case, or it always has been the case. So how relevant is it that our experiencing is this is weird, okay, so our experiencing appears to be a constant flow. It appears to have no beginning and no end. It appears to be substantial. Yet we can't, if we snapshot it, it's becomes really obvious how ludicrous it is to call that our experience. That's just a moment in time as a way of describing it. So it, as a component of our experience, it's such a small fraction, and it's gone the moment. Well, even when we snapshot it, it's already in the past. So there's nothing substantial. There's nothing we can bottle. There's nothing a surgeon can find in our experiencing, is there? Or maybe there is. Components could be found, maybe.
But even the experiencing is not findable, is it?
Yeah.
It's the experiencing is just flowing, and this conversation's being had, and then it's not.
I really like the word unresolvable. It's completely unresolvable. Wherever you look, you can't resolve anything. Even the idea of unresolvability is itself unresolvable. It's completely ludicrous. It's like every single aspect of it, you can't quite put your finger on. And by the time you would have put your finger on it, it's completely changed already. You know,
Yes.
it's amazing.
It
It's
is.
amazing.
I'm just going to attend to something for a minute. You guys just go on by yourself.
I was thinking about beliefs earlier, because a lot of people talk about beliefs and how you need to kind of like go through all your beliefs and dissolve them and see that they're all not real. And then I kind of thought, well, actually, one of my beliefs is that beliefs exist. I quite strongly believe that beliefs actually exist. And surely if I just dissolve that single belief, then I don't have to go through all the rest. I don't have to dissolve all the other beliefs, because it turns out beliefs never existed in the first place. It's like when I actually look for what a belief is, I can't bloody find it. It's nowhere. It's like, what is a belief? Everyone's always talking about them. Oh, really, you know, you believe in your thoughts, but I can't pinpoint what that is. Where is it? At what point do I believe in my thoughts? What does that even look like? I have no idea. No idea. I don't know if anyone else has thought about that, but yeah.
It's like I use this for like an exercise, maybe if you want to call it an exercise. And like if we look at our identities, you know, we have all these different identities as an individual. We behave in certain ways, we're conditioned in certain ways in different environments, you know, with our family, with our children, with workmates, with friends. You know, they're all different type of characteristics that we portray. And I suppose, you know, in some respects, which one are we? You know, which identity are we, right? And then if you bring it all back down to, in a similar respect, to the belief concept there, you know, which identity is that belief? And you can't sort of work through every single identity, because it's just, you know, conditioning upon conditioning upon conditioning. All right. So, you know, break it back down to what is the identity, and it's just a stream of thought stories, right? And so what's a belief? It's just a story, thought story. So rather than looking at the story and going, oh, there's 10 million stories there, it's just a thought. It's just one thought, and it's the same thought. And if we're looking at, you know, 70-odd thousand thoughts a day that the average person has, it's just the same thought 70,000 times. So, yeah, just don't think. You'll be right.
There's a sort of correlation. I mean, eventually shown not to be a correlation, but with what's going on in the body, especially if there are thoughts of resistance or some sort of personal identification with thoughts. But a particular, if you want to go with IFS or something, a particular part of us is clinging to from their point of view. And so then there is some sort of hidden possible belief or thought or point of view that is being defended. And so that's where it becomes interesting to expose that, and through the sensations of the body, and allowing those to arise and be felt. So it's not just a thought exercise, it's a fully sort of embodied exercise too, of seeing what it is that in a way is, I mean, at the sort of fertile ground from where the thoughts are creating the sensations, or the sensations are creating the thoughts, because there's some sort of subconscious holding that has gone way, way, way back in time, brought in through genetics, ancestral or early lifetime experiences.
I want to go back to something you said, Paul, that triggered something for me, and that was that it seemed what you were saying was, how do I put it? I don't mean, I'm not meaning to be critical, but it seemed simplistic in that it's how we feel about a thought, which is our relationship to that thought, that is infinitely variable. So when we have a belief, it is true what you say, it is just a thought, but our relationship to it is different to a thought about some observation or something that's not critical, you know. So I see an ant walking in front of me, I have a thought about an ant walking in front of me. There is no emotional charge particularly in that, unless I think it's going to bite me maybe. Whereas if I have a belief that I am prepared to defend, I have an entirely different relationship with that thought.
But if you come at that belief with the understanding,
Oh yeah, sure. In the end, if we strip them down, yes, I guess you can say that they're just an occurrence. But I see thoughts as like the sixth sense organ, you know, in that we respond to what happens there the same as we respond to stimulation of any of the other senses. Some things that will happen and we can ignore them because they're not significant, and other things, but we respond to any sense organ being stimulated. And when we have a thought, we respond to that thought in the same way as we respond to a sense organ being stimulated. So that just, for me, makes it easy to say, yeah, well, that's just another sense organ, our thoughts. And a lot of those thoughts are there because they've been stimulated, they've been triggered by something going on in our life, by conditions, circumstances.
Yeah, well, the conditions and whether they're traumatic or whether they're expansive or what, the conditioning is pretty much going to, the story that comes out of that, or the belief, or the attachment to the thought is going to be all relative to the individual and their condition, right? Yeah, and so I mean, okay, yes, if we feel heat on our hand, we respond with the sensation before we even think, we move.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no decision to move. It's just moving. But with thought, it's
same thing. I don't know.
Well, is it? I'm not sure. I mean, it's just a question. Like, is it the same thing, or is it a thought? Yes, and it happens, and it's part of the conditioned state to move with this heat, or to readjust pain for a position in the body for pain. So is the thought there to release something, possibly, to be aware of something, and the story relates to it from a primary point of view. But certainly, anything that carries on after that initial primary point of view, then is just, I don't know, it just seems to be not true.
You know, I'm having come
that I'm seeing while I'm experiencing while you're speaking, and nothing, in my experience, nothing is true. They're all stories. And then there's just that awareness, or whatever you want to call it, that just doesn't think. And if a sensation does arise as a reaction in the body, then yes, I can see that that's not real and it's not true ultimately, and it releases again. But the stories, it's almost like for me, re-entry, only being in two places now, the nothing and the everything, because the stories will bring me into this experience that we call human on the third dimensional or whatever, the story that I'm a woman who's a grandmother, mother. It's a story, and it works in order to have experience, because otherwise there doesn't seem to be experience. So the stories play the game. And when we believe the story solidly, it becomes lost in this reality. But when we can maintain, for a lack of better terms, both aspects of ourselves, that knowing I'm the eternal, experiencing the eternalness of that no thinking, and playing the game with stories of being human. And so if there's a sadness over there, I can play that game of sadness over here, and that connection that happens with that in the body, but I'm not attached to it. I can make the illusion of a plan to go visit my granddaughter, but there's no attachment to it, because I don't really know I'm going to end up getting on a plane or not getting on a plane, or it's all a story, but it's seen with within the everything. I mean, within the nothing. It's experienced as a human experience, but I know it's not true. But I can go ahead and play it's true. But because there's not that attachment that it is, things can move and shift.
Hmm. Yeah, I've often used to, maybe a lot more than recently. I used to tell clients that we have to behave as if there's a self a lot of the time, simply in order to buy our groceries and whatever else we're going to do in society. We have to behave as if there's a self. We don't have to believe that there is one.
Yes, and so I experience just being the nothing, the no thinking, and it was quite pleasant, and I would just observe, but I felt a disconnect ultimately, and like a lack of human experience. And so I was almost afraid to go back in, like re-entry, because I didn't want to get lost again. But what I realized is I am both. I'm both, and I can be both simultaneously.
Yeah.
Like right now, all at the same time. It's not, it doesn't have to be a choice. And then I can play this human game, and I can connect emotionally and listen to people's stories, and remember the dream of when I might have felt that way too. And it's
And
human
because you're not
connection.
identified with that other thing, then there's no threat to you. You can quite happily, yeah. So that's another one that's come to me fairly recently, that it's worth noting that we can hold two quite contradictory views, feelings at the same time, and there's no conflict. They both exist side by side quite easily. Yeah. The obvious example is we can love and hate somebody at the same time. Yeah. Or whatever your version is.
At the same time, seriously, literally at the same time. It's incredible to not have to choose, but to be able to just, oh my goodness, these are both happening at the same time, and they're both okay. It's incredible. That's just recently been happening for me as well.
But society puts a lot of pressure on you making a choice, being one or the other. It doesn't want you to be both somehow. Yeah.
Do you think it relates to left brain, right brain? That I think you mentioned it before,
Yeah.
Vince, that the left brain is the kind of structural doing, and the right brain, the left brain is the structural doing or activity, or and
Yeah.
the left brain, the awareness, nothingness. A bit like, I don't know if you've seen that Jill Bolte Smith or something, where she loses the, I get them mixed up, but
Left
the
brain
left
goes. Yeah.
and then she becomes awakened because she's only got the right brain,
Yes.
and she
Yeah, well, that's probably where I got the main idea about the left brain, right brain story. But yeah, I agree. And it makes sense that how we can hold two opposing views is because each of them lives in a different part of the brain. That's simplistic, of course, but yeah, you can say, well, if I experience love in my right brain and I experience critical thinking in my left brain, it's easy to see how I can have those things both at the same time. It may not be.
and like what Jenny was saying was perhaps in the process of awakening, the two integrate, whereas one side's been practiced a lot, especially in the Western world.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree.
And we're so habitually using that side of our brain, and then awakening awakens the other side, and then like Jenny, who's obviously managed to integrate them, so eventually there's no duplicity. They come together and work together.
Yeah.
I think the two halves of the brain story is very helpful for a time, but it loses, for me, it loses, I think it's a time because the mind wants to understand what's happening. And so it's sometimes these understandings are beneficial short term, as long as you don't get stuck there, as long as we don't get stuck there as a fact or as a truth, because what I experience is the consciousness isn't in the brain is in consciousness. And it's not just two emotions I'm experiencing at the same time. It's multiple points of view, depending on where my awareness is looking. And is it the brain? I don't know. We could pretend that that's a true story, but the brain is in consciousness. Consciousness isn't in the brain. The brain is processing somehow, but do we really even understand that, or are we going to tell a story?
It is another story, isn't it? Left brain, right brain. I think yeah, it's helpful to me as a tool, just to kind of get some kind of idea of which parts operating sometimes more
stories
than
are
another.
very helpful. Stories help our mind relax and expand to a point, because otherwise the mind, I find, is always trying to protect us from something, and it needs to understand. And so if a story bridges that temporarily, as long as it's not held on to longer than it's needed as a fact.
Yeah, I agree.
Have you been sorry?
There isn't really anything right I can say to answer that.
hear you correctly that you said there isn't anything right that you can say,
Yes.
or say something wrong?
I see.
I bet you
Just a
can't.
lot of resistance. All these stories and thoughts, and it's just like all these ways to describe. It's like, oh, it's just another. It's quite torturous.
And is that because there's a story there about there being no way out for you?
Feels like it, yeah. It's just a lot of everything that was talked about just felt really intellectual. And I can say these things about, oh, there's a lot of anger and hatred and resentment, and there's just no way to express it. That's like a conventional way of describing it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't satisfying, and then it's like is no sequence of words I'm gonna say is satisfying whatsoever.
So you mentioned the word resistance earlier. What is your experience of that? You're resisting ideas,
Being in a body,
and feelings, being in the body, right?
yes.
So Soren, what if instead of being in the mind trying to explain your anger, you felt what anger feels like in the body? You don't have to even express anger, just what's it feel like? Where do you feel that anger?
It's contraction, but it's like I just get this explanation. It's like a fire that I need to let die, but
What does a fire feel like? And who says you need to let it die? Like rhetorical.
oh, this like the ego, like the
Yeah,
fire.
it's the thought. So what does the fire feel like? Because if you try to bypass your body and go back into your head, that's understandably frustrating. So if the mind thinks you have, that's just the ego creating this fire and it's just a thought and let me get back out of it, then you're not going to feel what needs to be felt to enter the body. And the only way through it is out of it is through it and not in the head, because you'll be trapped from the neck up. Well, as you know, not really, but you know what I'm saying. So what does a fire
Yeah.
feel like? Where's that fire in the body?
I'm already
There's
hating having used that description.
you what? Yeah.
I'm already,
Which description? Tell me the
I don't know.
description.
I just, oh, a fire. It's like, this just sounds so, it sounds so stupid when someone else says what I just said.
Okay, tell me, what does the anger feel like in your body?
Just a lot of contraction. I just feel like I'm a prisoner, prisoner in
Where's
life.
the yeah, where's the contraction?
It's contraction here, there's tension in the head.
And be with that. Just be with that. Just sit with that and breathe.
And then
You can
there's
see
going to be something I have to do in 2 hours, you know. Can I, that won't help me get the things done. Yeah, I can sit
well,
here for a long time.
yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to sit here for a long time or even a minute if you don't want to. And will it help you get things done in a couple hours? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. No one knows. But it's a good way to avoid going in the body. And you don't have to. Would you like to go into the body? now?
I don't have a choice, do I? I can only pretend there's a choice.
And why do you say that?
Because it's like there were thoughts of how the dynamic of or earlier of like how the torture works, where there's like pain and suffering, and it's just like this going unconscious to better believe something.
And why do you not have a choice to go into the body?
Because I can't stay there.
So you can't stay in the body?
I can do it for a little bit,
Mhm.
and then it's going to be too painful, and then I have to leave, and then I get stuck being left out.
Left out of where?
The body.
So are you stuck being,
The
are
sorry, I
you
interrupted.
stuck being, are you stuck being, well, the reason I interrupt you is because sometimes you go in your head and I usually cut that off. So
No,
it
no,
sounds
no.
like,
I said I interrupted you. Sorry, that's what I said.
no, I know, and I am interrupting you as well. So
Okay.
who is what my point is.
Okay.
Right. So are you stuck not being able to go back in the body? Is that true? Or are you able to at a different time, just for short periods? You may not be able to go back now, but an hour from now, a day from now, 3 minutes from now, are you really stuck not being able to go back into the body when it gets too painful? Can you take that elephant one bite at a time?
Yeah, but how am I going to know that it's ever going to end? I can't, because it's all thoughts.
Yeah, so you don't know it's going to end. So if you go into the body trying to make it end, that's,
That's what I'm trying to do, yes.
yeah. So just go in the body for the sake of going into the body, period. And when it gets too painful, it's okay to come out. And are you trapped out? No, you go back in again when you're ready and you come out when it gets too painful. And you take that bite of the elephant one bite at a time until you can stay longer and longer. I know sometimes in the body, for my past story was so painful, I felt I was being electrocuted. The static was so painful, I couldn't stand more than 30 seconds. And I would make agreements with myself that I would stay in 45 seconds, 60 seconds. Sometimes that's what you got to do when those things feel really painful. You be kind and gentle.
Kind and gentle.
You go in a little at a time. For no reason. You reacquaint yourself. You're a stranger to your body. You don't want to go rushing in. A little at a time, reacquaint.
Earlier on, Soren, I heard you say, if I go into the body, then this will happen and that will happen and then that will happen, right? And it was really obvious to me that you were telling yourself a story about what was going to happen. Did you see it as a story, or were you relating to that like it was the body that you were relating to? Did you mistake that story for the body? How do you know that what was going to happen or not happen?
I don't know. I'm blanking, trying to understand what you just said.
When you said, if I go into the body, I forget the exact story that you told, but you know,
Yes.
there was a bit about
It-
ending, not ending, and so on. Yeah.
it's about like life stuff and expectations.
Right. So this is all a story that's attached to the idea of going into the body, is it?
Yes, because if it goes into the body, then what needs to get done gets neglected.
Right. How do you know that's going to happen?
I always feel so foolish
Isn't it?
when shown what's here, or what's right, or what's true, or the
So do you recognize that everything that you've just related to is a story about the body? It's not actually the body at all.
yes. This is why I hesitate to speak at all, to be honest, or whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you just go ahead and go in the body? What does it feel like to feel foolish? And just feel it. You don't have to speak at all. Just go in there.
Maybe you don't know how to go in the body. Would that be true? Are you able to get in touch with the sensation in the body? Or does that not happen? Does it never happen? Does thought always jump
It's,
in between?
I don't know.
You showed us where your anger is, Soren. You showed us.
Yeah, and I was just, there's sensations
That's,
here.
yes, that's you being in the body. That's your awareness being in the body. That's it.
Doesn't feel like being in the body. It just feels like looking at the screen that shows a picture of the body or something like that. It feels like an abstraction.
Yeah,
That's okay. Are you feeling contraction? Are you feeling sensations?
Yes, always.
Mind can make up
Contraction.
all kinds of stories. The mind can make up all kinds of stories. If you're feeling sensation and contraction, like it or not, you're in the body. And it doesn't have to, what does feel like being in the body? Do you know what that means? To feel like you're in the body?
Prisoner.
What does prisoner feel like in the
I'm
body?
trapped in a space.
What does it feel like to be trapped in space? Tell me where it is in your body.
Here.
And what's it feel like? Is it solid, tight, contracted? Describe it.
It's just like really, really tight.
Yeah. So be with that for a minute. Breathe into it and be with it. For no reason. Are you still sensing it?
Yes, partially.
For no reason. Just be with it.
Can you use the mind like a searchlight, like a torch, to shine on various characteristics of the sensation, but not actually get in the road, not be a buffer between you and what you're feeling, but just to use the mind as a way of focusing on certain parts of those sensations, that tight contraction. So we want to get more vivid what the actual sensation is. And the mind's going to want to jump in between you and that sensation and buffer you so that you don't feel it fully. But if you just kind of don't allow that to happen, just allow the mind to take you to various parts of the sensation. That's the only involvement of the mind.
It can be done, but it's sort of with this undertone of resentment and hatred and anger.
Okay, so
So
go
feel
for that. Yes, absolutely.
feel the resentment and anger, because that's coming up as well. So you think it's in the way, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's part of it. So when you feel resentment come up, oh, what does resentment feel like? Let me go there. Where's that in my body? Where's the resentment in your body? Can you feel resentment? When you're exploring, like Vince said, there you go. Yeah, when you're exploring, like Vince
Yeah.
was pointing, it's going to open up different areas, and it might feel like anger and resentment and all kinds of things. Well, what does that feel like? Explore that. Where is that in your body, that resentment?
I challenge you. I don't think you can feel resentment. Resentment's not a feeling. It's only an idea about feelings.
Right, I'm trying to bring him to a sensation.
Yeah. So what are you feeling that you call resentment? Where is the sensation? What is it like? You showed us with your hands how that other sensation was contracted. You did this contraction, this grip, right? For that. So what is it? What is the one that goes with resentment? What does that feel like, and where is it being felt?
It's tension in the head.
Well, tension doesn't tell me anything. Is it from the outside in, or the left to right, or top to bottom? Where's the tension?
Here is tension.
Yeah. And it feels tight. And is that what you're calling resentment?
I don't know.
I'm not actually asking you to know. Both both Jenny and I just want you to get past the torrent of thoughts about this stuff and experience what this stuff is. So when you did that with your head, your forehead, and you pulled it from the center out, I get a good clear image of a tightness of attention in there. So that's a good description, you know, that partly was done by your hands as well as your words. But because you're so cerebral, you know, you've got your mind works so fast and so all-inclusive, I suspect that your mind is acting like a shock absorber between you and any sensation. It's not letting you get to the sensations because it's wanting to protect you, keep you away from them. And that's why they're built up. So resentment's felt in the head, is it?
It's here.
Oh, okay. So that was something else earlier, still in that same place. So would you just come back to say that feels what? Heavy, tight? How do you,
Tight.
sorry, tight.
Tight.
Yeah. So is the pull downwards across from your shoulder down across your chest?
I don't know.
Okay, so look, here's an exercise I want you to do. I want you to, when we finish, not now, when we finish, I want you to go and find a pin or a needle, you know, around the place. And I want you to stick it into your finger, your left index finger. I want you to put a pin into it, enough so that it hurts. You know, not big time. I'm not asking you to torture yourself, but I want you to feel the sensation that happens as a result of that without thoughts about it. So every time a thought turns up to tell you something like, oh, I better not keep doing it, or something will happen, or whatever the mind comes up with, just piss it off and just go back to the feeling. What does it feel like? That sticking that pin in you, it's like it's an unavoidable sensation. And I suspect that the biggest issue with you is that mind of yours gets in the road every time you go towards a sensation. The mind jumps in and starts diverting you. It's like the stop go sign on the traffic. You know, it's going to divert you down some detour every time. At least that's the story that I hear about that. Yeah. Now, your mind is also going to say, well, what's the point of it? Why am I doing it? You know, is there going to be some good outcome from this and whatever? We don't know any of that. We're doing it to experiment, to see what might come up. Sorry, Jenny, I just couldn't help myself there.
It is so thrilling to connect with another, and I get it.
Oh, how have you been, Lindy? We haven't heard from you for a little while.
Hi, yes, I've got a new pup, hence camera on and off. He has a funny 5 minutes every now and again and barks a lot. So yeah. So I've been very caught up with him, but that's quite an interesting experience, really.
Mm. A really young pup?
No, but he behaves like it in between the sleeping.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's very stressed. I think he's a rescue, so there's a lot of stress to deal with in him. Yeah, so a lot of sitting and being when he's quiet. But obviously quite caught up with him. I think he might be off again in a minute. Let me show you. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's very sweet just at this moment, but
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, they
he's,
can be full of everything, the little ones like that. Yeah.
yeah. So I haven't really got anything much more sensible to say, really. I'm just very caught up with him. But
Yeah.
I think there's less of I think there's less of a me around.
Mm-hmm. So I have no doubt that this dog is exciting a sense of connection in you with it. You know, there's that interaction which is obvious, but there is feelings that go back and forward one way or the other. You know, so animals are great for us to project. To what's the word? Anthropomorphize. We project human qualities onto animals. But nevertheless,
Yes.
there's a connection when we do that. Yeah, and there's also these other things. Yeah, animals are great for that, I reckon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, really, just looking at the way that he behaves, you know, without a me, you know, he just is, he just does what he does. There's just no, I mean, I think I'm less anthropomorphic than I used to be, just because understanding what the personal mind does. And it's
Yeah.
really quite lovely being with another creature that doesn't have that. Again, he's got his big behavioral issues in his body from his background and stuff, but yeah, he just lives for the moment. There's no thought about, well, there's plenty of thoughts about wanting food very, very regularly.
Yes, and wanting treats and wanting walks. Yes.
Yeah, he's very demanding, but I'm only on day 4, so you know, it's early days. Yeah, but it is interesting, and certainly, you know, it helps with opening the heart, and yeah, it was time for me to
Yeah.
give it another go, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, there hasn't been much time for me to think about anything else, really, which of course is a good thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Sounds like you're in a good place. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very mixed. I haven't been terribly well on and off for the last week or two, so that's been quite interesting as well, about how the me reacts to not feeling great. But I am managing to step aside from that and realize when stories come about, you know, the drama of not feeling very well, you know, it's just like, we don't need the drama, you know, we don't need it anymore. So yeah, and being kind and gentle to myself. You know, I realized today that I probably haven't been doing that much, because it's all been going into the dog, just trying to calm him down. But as I've been sitting here, I've just thought, no, I can do it for me at the same time as him.
Absolutely.
So not sure really where I am, but you know,
Yeah.
that's this. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And who cares? It's there's not a lot of suffering there at the moment. That's good.
Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of John Wheeler, you know, the
Yeah, I know him.
guy, the guy that sort of got his final pointings from Sailor Bob, and I'm finding they're really hitting home, and I'm finding or even at night and in the morning, you know, I'm doing a lot more self-inquiry. It's just coming more naturally now. So, yeah, so I mean, I think things are going, you know, as far as I can tell, I think things are going in the right direction, and a bit more laid back, I think, about it all.
Good.
Hmm.
It is a journey of discovery, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I've done some, I think I'm kind of, what's the word? Integrating quite a lot of it, because I've recently done some work with Alan, which has been really useful, really got into
Good one.
teasing some big stuff out, really. So I think now it's, let's just integrate that and, yeah, and just see how I go for a little while, I think.
Good stuff.
Hmm. Nice to be here anyway and see everybody.
Yeah, good to see you.
It's a nice, just really nice to reconnect with everybody. I think even when my camera's off, I'm very present.
Yeah. We've got 8 cameras turned off at the moment. But that's good. That's their way of telling me that they want me to call them out. So that's all right.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. I was really surprised when you
That's all right.
came
You
to
can
me.
always say,
Yeah.
I don't want it. I've got nothing to talk about today or something like that easily. Yeah.
Well, there's plenty I could talk about, but you know, it's just words, isn't it, really? There's
Mm.
nothing burning. Yeah. But I'm sure there will be again before long. It just comes and goes as it will.
Yeah.
I'm just remembering to do what I need. Well, words again. What needs to be done when something surfaces, I think. And it's interesting what you were saying to Soren. Is he still here?
No, he's gone.
Just remembering when stuff does bubble, to rather than let it bubble up here, let it go. I think I'm getting a bit better at letting the thoughts go now when I go in, which is good. And a couple of times I've just had really yucky feelings. I've been very unclear what it's about, but I'm seeing that as quite a good thing, actually. And just being with it.
What's happening for you, Dennis?
Hi, Vince. Hi, everyone. Well, we spoke, I think, a day ago now. Your yesterday night, my yesterday morning. Still feel like a plane landing away from futuring all the time, looking forward, and the things we discussed. Felt quite good yesterday as a result of the meeting. Listened to a lot of music, getting a lot of stuff done around the house, dancing, just feeling good and light. And then last night slept, but I had a kind of very weird, disturbing dream, and I can remember it vividly. I how it made me feel. And it's kind of playing in my head as to what's behind it, which I don't know yet. Then I was very, do you remember what I was saying to you about when I wake up, the sense of being in the body and the uncomfortableness of it? And that wasn't there this morning. It was very much more one of those mornings you wake up and you feel great. You just feel in your body, as your body. And it felt nice. And I slept in. So that's really kind of between yesterday and today. I came on more kind of to listen to what other people were talking about, and it really resonated when Jenny said, you know, stories bridge the gap, and the conversation that was going on earlier on, which kind of like the moral for me was, if you can, stay in the gap. We do so much to get out of the gap. I think Paul was talking about beliefs earlier. Like I always kind of, the statement I heard that it resonated with me. A belief means you don't know, therefore you believe. Can you stay in the don't know? We're always trying to get away from the don't know into some, you know, belief. So that kind of, I made a little note of that. Stay in the gap.
So you can find that gap. Okay?
Pardon?
Can you find that gap okay? So that gap, presumably you mean the gap between sensations and thoughts?
Yeah, I might call it the gap of being.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute I do that, the body draws me in to feel the energy, the aliveness, the movements, pains, the twitches, the everything, the coolness, all that stuff is there. We should say that's been the main practice for the last couple of months now, being in the body. When I can think of it. And then I was trying that thing one of the ladies said yesterday about getting curious about awareness and what is it and where is it, and kind of letting it fall back on itself and noticing awareness as you're going about your day. And you kind of go in and out of that, or you forget. So now the mind's telling me, well, geez, you're doing loads of different practices here. This is getting a bit complicated. And then Paul mentioned a couple of weeks ago the guy Nirgun John, and I've been listening to him a good bit on YouTube as well. Kind of, I like his style. He's very straightforward and truthful and no frills. And yeah, so I'm not burning at the minute. Again, I felt for Soren. I can relate to being in that space where you want to just, I don't know, break a few bars with your fist and get moving.
Yeah, he probably thinks he's the only one in the world in that place that experiences that. But yeah, that's human nature.
But actually, yeah, when I was looking at him at the end, it was like he was in a cauldron of hot fire burning, but he doesn't see it. He's right in the middle of a burning up session, maybe. Yeah, I feel like I'm slowly letting go of the future.
Yeah, my feeling.
Then I was thinking that, not thinking, but I was kind of, the sense that, Jesus Christ, if you fully let go of the future, you'd be just in this moment, and you'd have loads of time. You'd have loads of time to do everything if you weren't futuring. It just feels that way.
Yeah, it's. I guess you're alluding to, and I definitely go with you. I agree with you there that this whatever this moment, this place, this whatever this is really chockers, absolutely full of. There's just so much going on. Yeah, like it's.
Yeah. And when you said that, like, I'm thinking of the whole cosmos and everything that ever comes into being, every link, and like it does a lot. So why wouldn't we be able to squeeze out a few extra bits too? Like there's a lot going on. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I feel good about what I hear from you. It just seems like to me that like you're in a really good place. Still discovering. That's the big one. Still discovering what's actually happening.
Yeah. And I think after the other day when we were talking about the belief of having a shift or not having a shift and what to wake up, and that's one I want to, well, I feel like I should let go of that now maybe, and whether I have or haven't or will or won't, in a way might be a distraction. And it's kind of like, well, let's put that aside for a few weeks or a few months and let's see what happens when you're just being a person, feeling, and instead of striving for Kensho. When I get Kensho, we'll be off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny if you told people what, that, okay, you can achieve this by striving, what you're going to strive towards is absolute ordinariness.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just coming back to me yesterday. You told me, you remember when you had your 2 shifts, you were totally relaxed and not striving. Yet those 2 shifts make you strive like crazy to get something.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest downsides of having those epiphanies. We just want to get them back. They felt so good.
But it feels like for years I've been hearing a message from all the people I've listened to. There must be fucking thousands at this stage and hundreds of books and all sorts. And the message was deep, meditate, do this, do that, do this, do that, do. But lately it's more be, and it's like everyone's converged to tell me, just tell him to be in the body. Just back to the body. It's the last couple of months. Just body, into the body, everything's about the body. I'm like, what about all the other teachings for 18 years? They were all saying that was nothing to do with the body. So obviously I wasn't hearing something. It's just a process of, is it that simple really?
It's once it happens, yes, it is that simple. Until it happens, no, it's 100% difficult.
Yeah. Sounds about right, Vince.
It's a good nothing, isn't it? Yeah.
So I think that's me.
Yeah. Sounds good. So we'll call you iPad today, Yvonne.
Yeah, been given an old iPad,
Mm.
and one of my sons got it working for me today, so I can see all of you.
Oh, very good.
Quite new experience for me. Yeah, I feel very modern.
Any news on your bypass?
Oh yeah, there is. It's going to be
put off a while because it's quite interesting. I've been having healing from this amazing lady, which I do meditations. She does meditations and she does healing at the same time. And it's really quite powerful. And I've been doing this. I repeat the, I don't know what to call it. I'm not very technical. The video, I repeat it every day. And then also I've been meditating as well. I've been meditating and doing the healing every day for the last 4 months. And when I went to have some more checks a few weeks ago, I then had an appointment last week to see one of the surgeons. And he said, "Oh, we're not going to do the operation just yet." And I said, "Well, why not?" They said, "Well, we're going to delay it for a few more months because, there's 2 valves, and the valves, the blood gushes into the lungs, and there's 2 valves that need mending." And he said, "It's not quite as one of the valves. It's not quite as bad as it was before, and so it'll be too early to do the operation. We don't want, because it's a big operation, and it would be too soon. We don't want to do it yet." Which is quite interesting because I've been having healing and all this meditation for 4 months, I mean, religiously. And I feel a lot better. I've got a lot more energy. And it's puzzling. So, I was hoping, because, where it moves inwards. I mean, I don't know if you think this is a bit woo-woo,
No,
but,
I don't.
the field. Do you mind me talking about the field? Because what happens is dis-ease. It starts out here. I mean, I had a teacher for 30 years and he could see, and he could say this is actually what happens. And so it's sort of the tensions and the stuff slowly come in and eventually get to the body and affect the body. So the healing, she works from outside to the inside in the field, and eventually it would get to the effect the physical. And I'm just I mean, it's incredible. It's got a bit better.
And it sounds
I'm not
good.
going to do it yet, so it's confusing. And
I do like the fact that your surgeon is measuring stuff and giving you that improvement that's happening. I love that. Yeah. Look, the body is beyond amazing in terms of what it can do and what it does do. We probably all have things go wrong and get fixed and we don't even know about it. There's things like that. Yeah. Now a little story that might be of value to you. With me, going back to 1997, so a long time ago now, I had bowel cancer, and they discovered a tumor the size of a grapefruit, and they operated and took 1/3 of my bowel out. Right? And then after the operation, was supposed to have 6 months of chemotherapy. But when I saw the oncologist at the 5th month, I said, "I'm not going to go the rest of the way. This is way too depressing for me. I don't, and it turned out that the last month was only going to give me 1% better chance of not getting it back within 5 years. So I said, "Stuff that, I'm not going to have it." Well, he said, "Well, I want you to go and have a colonoscopy." So I did that. So I never had one before. And so on. So when I had the colonoscopy, the surgeon that did that came back and said, "You're riddled with polyps and we want to take the rest of your bowel out." And I said, book me back in for another colonoscopy in 10 weeks, in 6 weeks rather, and we'll see what happens. And he booked me in for 10 weeks. And I went off to a Satchinanda ashram, and I spent a week there doing yoga cleansing and a lot of meditation and a lot of self-hypnosis. So my self-hypnosis was to imagine these miniature work group with high-vis vests running around with high-pressure sprayers in my bowel and cleaning off the wall and stimulating blood flow by the pressure of water and all of this kind of stuff. Anyway, I did that for 10 weeks, went back and had another colonoscopy, and he said, I must have made a mistake. I cannot find any polyps. Right?
Oh,
So I know what you're saying has credibility, about your heart. It's not woo-woo
Yeah.
stuff at all, but it is magic. It is the magic of the body, the ability of the body to be able to heal stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's important we don't just get off in woo-woo land and believe that things are happening when they're not. Using the medical fraternity to check up on what's going on is good value, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So keep healing and keep getting checks until he says, well, I don't know what's going on. Your bloody valve's fixed itself.
Oh, I wish, I hope. Yeah, I do believe in miracles.
Yeah, it can happen for sure. Yeah.
Mm. I'd like to know how Alan is. How are you getting on, Alan? Can you hear me?
I can, just finding the mute button here, Yvonne. Yeah, doing well, thank you. It's I'll have a check in a week or so, and after having had an MRI, so I'm going to be intrigued to see what's happening. It feels pretty good.
Are you able to walk at all?
Yes, yeah, I certainly getting around on crutches, and one of the amazing things has been I haven't had any pain, which seems to be surprising folks. So no, doing well, thank you.
Good.
It's been a
Yeah.
when I say a wonderful,
Say?
it's been a wonderful experience, really. It just given me a chance to stop and just watch the mechanisms of the mind in a different way.
Yeah.
And even when there was discomfort, when I say there hasn't been any pain, I mean at times there has been I guess something you would call pain, but feeling into it does something which I haven't experienced before, just being willing to be totally open to it rather than reaching for the Panadol.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as you're saying, Vince, this body is such a mystery, but just to stand in awe of it.
Yeah, even when you think about something as simple as, say, a cut on your finger, how it heals itself. Just absolute magic. Amazing.
Yeah.
The thing about the cut on the finger is we don't even have to believe it for it to heal.
Yeah.
But there's no unraveling of what we've been told can't heal. Like possibly everything heals that way, but we've been told it doesn't.
Yes.
So if we can just think if the cut can heal, everything heals. We're just undoing that lie that we've bought into.
Yeah. That's why it's not very good when people give you a diagnosis and then you identify with the diagnosis and you become it and it becomes you.
Do you know Joe Dispenza? Joe Dispenza?
I've heard his name.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
wrote a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself and also Becoming Supernatural. And he calls that the doctor's voodoo curse.
It is. Doctors
diagnosis.
should be trained to be very careful how they use language.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
can make all the difference to living longer or shorter. If they give you so many months to live, it's a terrible thing to do. How do they really know?
Mhm. Which is helping us overcome that programming, no matter who says what to us, actually. So it's a way of strengthening us.
Yeah, I can't hear terribly well. It's great. I can
Oh,
see everyone. It's this. The sound's not
yours?
terribly loud. What did you say?
I said that these diagnoses actually, how I see it is it trains me to question it, to not believe it. And no matter who says what to me, I say what's going to happen. And I still obviously am unraveling programming around that, but that's my stance is no matter who says what to me, who's actually in charge of this body, who is actually the one believing or the one experiencing what's happening at this moment, which I find is healing. Experiencing, like Alan was saying, experiencing and opening to the pain actually seems to be keeping him out of pain. It's being in the what's happening in every area, not what somebody tells me is going to happen.
Also, I mean, you know, if there is no future, there's only, I mean, you can't really tell the doctor that. You say, well, there isn't any future anyway. There's only this here now.
Mm-hmm. So I'll open it. Let's see what happens. Let's just open it.
I mean, because in that next moment, you know, who knows?
Yeah. So did you hear, Yvonne, when the doctor said to you, we don't want to operate on this yet? But what he was doing was he was predicting a progression,
That they will have to.
degrading, a degradation. He was predicting that because that's what he's seen in the past. But I wonder if he's seen that because he uses words like that. So part of what we're doing here is we're learning not to take what people say literally. We accept that that's the way they see the world.
Yes.
That's a conventional way to see the world, and that's not the way it really works. So we're learning to add salt to things that other people say.
Mm.
And then it's also being aware of what we're saying to ourselves. That's the big one, isn't it?
Mm.
Yes, it is. What we say to ourselves is the big one. Absolutely.
But if you have the doctor up on some kind of a pedestal as a man of knowledge and it indicates that your valve is only going to get worse, guess what? You make it worse. You do.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Yeah.
I actually told him, I said, well, I meditate a lot and I've been having quite a lot of healing. I don't know if it meant much to him, but he did.
He would just roll his eyes probably.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's incredibly fascinating. I mean, everything.
Mm.
Um,
So when you're having a healing, my suggestion is that you look for a particular sensation that occurs when a healing is in progress. And if you can locate that sensation somewhere in the body, what it is that you feel, get familiar with that, then you can do that for yourself at any time. So you can give yourself healing.
absolutely. Yes, and I do. I do as well. I mean, it's also a meditation as well. So I mean, I close my eyes and have my hands like this. I mean, on my lap, and most of the time, my whole body, it feels melts, and I just drop into it, and it melts, and then I start yawning a lot. It's always a sign that things are working, and I just yawn, and then just amazing deep breaths just happen, and it's absolutely wonderful.
So
It's
in that
very good.
in that state, when you're in there, imagine, use mine. You borrow my little men in their high vis vests that can run around in your heart and
Yes, mending.
mend things,
Yes.
pick things up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, if I knew actually what they do to repair the valves. I mean, I'm a maker, and I love mending.
Mm-hmm.
So if I knew, I'd do it.
Yeah, you don't have to actually know what they do, but
No, you don't.
You might be
No.
able to find it, but yeah.
I know.
But
I
you
do.
can-
I do a sort of mending, you know.
Yes, yes. So sew it up. Imagine yourself sewing up the bits that are not solid or whatever. You know, you can do that. Any kind of repair. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. She's moved away all the fear. I mean, fear still comes up, and if I think of, sometimes I can feel fear, but it's quite immediate, and then it goes.
Yes.
So she's
See it
moved.
happening.
She moves the anxiety and the fear away, and she's getting back to the natural, God-given, I don't know what to call it. I've run out of words, but like the authentic, original, energetic
Yes.
being. And I feel it. I feel the energy.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So yeah. I feel joy again. I just wanted to say, I lost my joy, and now when I touch a tree, I can feel the joy again. I like to touch trees, and I feel like I'm connecting with them, and suddenly I get joy.
Good stuff.
Hmm.
You feeling joy, Andre?
As in a notion or a person or
Oh,
no,
I
I'm just being silly.
Energetically, it's an
Yeah,
energy,
yeah.
isn't
It's yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's it.
I like
It's
this.
just so do I feel joy? I feel joy too, yes, but not as a dominant. There's an idea that joy has to be dominant. So somewhere there's joy, but I've been sort of watching myself, and thinking about the present moment. You know, what is the present moment? What's happening to, like, what is, can I say, my present moment? Maybe we all have our own present moments, and I I just noticed that I was becoming irritated, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. When you talked about body and body healing itself, and a little bit of woo-woo stuff, which I was sort of into at some point. And then I somehow I just sit there with this kind of irritation, and I don't really know why. Like, what is it that irritates me? Is it a story from my childhood when I'm around when I am in like when my mother takes me to a hospital, for example, then it's usually a depressing place. And then people talk about um being sick there. And now when I'm talking about this, I kind of feel guilty because it feels like I should be I shouldn't be feeling that. Like I shouldn't be talking about irritation because you're talking about miraculous healing, and you're talking about like you're overcoming stuff which is like terminal, or which is really like cancer. Cancer is a big one, or heart, or anything to do with vital organs. And I should be like, there's an idea that I should respond in a certain way to that. And now when I talk about it, the guilt doubles, because not only I feel that, but I also talk about it. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm like, it feels like I'm digging my own, grave now, in a way. But I just I just like to, I guess I just like to provoke something, so that there's something that I don't want to see, or that something that I have become sort of numb or deaf towards, that um it doesn't feel like I'm doing it in a very sort of caring way towards myself. I think more like I'm doing something which like I'm basically jumping through the fire, and I might get burned, and I feel like I'm getting burned. Shit.
No,
It's just
on,
deeper
Andre,
and deeper.
yeah, it is because you're thinking, Andre, you're thinking, because
Oh.
what happened is she's telling something beautiful, and then you're feeling like a cynicism or something, correct? Whatever
I
you
think I think it is a cynicism, yeah.
yeah, you're feeling what you were saying, and then you're feeling guilty for feeling that, like you're supposed to, but then you go in your head. That's when you start to go in your head, because then the first thing you felt was the cynicism, or whatever word you used. Then be with that.
Irritation. Yeah.
The irritation, yes, the irritation. What's underneath the irritation? Be with that. Don't go in your head about how you should or shouldn't be feeling something, or
Well,
why you're yeah.
So as far as my body is concerned, well, what's happening in my body is just, I feel there are like these spots of sort of warm or hot, like I mean, I could call it embarrassment or shame, but it's the cheeks, it's the stomach, it's my feet, and they're all kind of there's no Control Z, right? There's no undo button in life. I mean, if I could, I would just and then back to Vince's question. You feel joy? Oh, sure, yeah, but like too late.
Because you're
Oh.
being authentic and transparent. You're not being plastic and fake, right? And people pleasing. You're being authentic and transparent, which is beautiful. And you
But who
get
needs
to,
that?
we do. You give us all, you
Yes,
give us
but
freedom. Can't connect to plastic. And you get to feel what you're feeling, because if it's if that's what shows up when you think of miracles, then that's what's showing up. This program that we're supposed to be, this political correctness, we're supposed to be feeling something other than what we are actually feeling, and it pulls us into our heads, and then we turn into these plastic puppets and wonder why we can't connect with each other. Who needs it is we do. The world needs it.
Okay, tears again. But I sort of feel inclined to explain the tears somehow. I don't know. Maybe it feels safer for me when I explain, when I try to explain, not necessarily can. But what you're saying sort of opens me up and makes me less aggressive, maybe, because what I'm trying, like, there's something that I want to express, and when I start to express it, it comes out as harsh or rude or cynical or cold or
Maybe that's just
Wow.
your interpretation of it. That's how you think we're going to take it. Maybe that's how some people have taken it. But it's still what's happening. It's authentic, transparent communication, and it comes across however each individual perceives it. You're just expressing. How we perceive it is none of your business.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to respond to that. Thanks. Like, do I take offense? Do I enjoy it? Do I like?
You don't have to do anything. Don't do anything.
I'm confused. Like,
Take a bow.
take away.
You can't control how we perceive it. You can't
No,
control
no.
how we perceive it.
That's true. That's true. But I'm just like, I wanna, whatever I just did, I'm trying to either go all the way or sort of sugarcoat it, or like I'm trying to
Don't sugarcoat it.
no, but
It just,
I don't want to hurt for the sake of hurting people.
It wouldn't hurt me.
you're not
Doesn't-
hurting.
Well, I'm thinking I'm hurting Vince.
People-
No, Vince?
Whoa, wait a minute, I'll have to have a look into it. Oh, no, I can't find any hurt. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, then why? I feel like I upset everyone here, and then but everyone is not talking about it. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why aren't you guys upset?
Because
this
we're
is
not
super
your-
weird.
Yes, we're not your past. We're not your history. We're not your family. We're not whoever told you that their feelings were your fault. Now, some
Okay.
people in the world still will tell you that their feelings are your fault. They still will tell you that. And you'll either believe that lie or you won't. But your feelings are made up by you, and our feelings are made up by us.
Wow.
I'll also make a pact with you, Andre, that if I feel that what you're suggesting I might feel, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I won't keep it to myself.
Thank you. So
And that's the beauty about authenticity, is if we're upset, we'll tell you. You don't have to guess. You don't have to wonder and keep explaining until we cough up the goods.
the thing is, I kind of started with what seemed to be the description of the moment, and my sort of authentic response, my response to the words that you were saying, and maybe the feelings you were feeling. And now I am, well, yeah, I'm partly confused because like maybe I came across, well, I was looking to encounter reaction or response that I have had before, and I didn't have it. so I'm sort of trying to, it feels like I'm stuck mid-story, like because it's just saying that I only had irritation, it was just telling just one part of the story, maybe. But I don't see, like, I'm not I'm sort of stuck, like I'm not able to, I can feel it in my stomach, and my stomach is like bleh. It's kind of it feels like warm nausea and and again a contraction, and I just don't know what to do with it, like,
Just be with it. Just be with it, Andre, because when you don't get the reaction you're expecting, your whole body brain does a reboot. It just goes, whoa, and then you can go into chaos and confusion because you're not getting the automatic response that you're expected to. So just be with that. Just be with that and let your body reorganize itself, your body mind.
Yeah, when you said it, like my hands seem to sort of light up, like, you know, when you reboot a computer, then all the LEDs switch off, and then at some point they turn on and back on, and I just feel like my hands kind of are online again.
Do it again. Your hands
What's
kind
that?
of hurt because, did you say?
I said my hands are back online, online.
Oh, right.
As yeah, as in
A reboot.
I reboot, yes. But the rest of the body is still.
What was it, the bit I said about there being no future and there just being what's here right now? Was that you were saying? You thought, did that affect you in a bad way?
I cannot no, I think it's an overall what you said, and then Vince said, and I think that Alan said, and it wasn't it wasn't a particular word. It wasn't a particular. I was just after my sort of generic state of response, and I don't think it has a like a personal attribution. Maybe it does. It maybe I'm being a chicken, but I don't see how I don't know. It's not an encounter group, right? I shouldn't jump on anyone. I mean, I don't feel like jumping on anyone anyway. It's just I was
I
talking
don't feel
about.
jumped.
No, it was a
Yeah.
collective sort of. It was a collective kind
Yeah.
of
Collective, yeah.
response,
Everyone is.
and
Yes.
because you were talking about healing, but also what I had my own stuff come up, which had to do with the suffering and the place where the hospitals, the not being able to do what you're able to do when you're sick, the maybe sometimes blaming other people of your sickness, which is just my story, and
It's
sort
very
of
common.
putting a lid on other people, like you know, especially if mother has a headache, and then all their kids have to be quiet, but kids cannot be quiet because they're kids, that's their nature, and when they become quiet, it means that they put their brakes on. When they put their brakes on, then later in their life, when someone is sick around them, for them it feels like someone is just, you know, pulling the emergency brake, and there's nothing they can do or I can do, because that's how I taught myself in a way.
Mothers
And
do
maybe
that.
well,
Mothers
I
do that.
yes, I don't think they do it on purpose, but
No.
but I just feel like I'm talking about the impact it may have and probably had on me, and so when people talk about miraculous healing, which is there, all I see, or most of what I see, is not the healing, but the breaks, or the suffocating of spontaneity and in other people, because it is hard to be around people who are going through you know, difficult physical sickness or ailment, and it's hard because most of the time I think there's in my case there's a lot of like helplessness. What do I do? Like if I cannot help, I'm not a doctor. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I just kind of sit and wait. I mean, I can say, can I bring you something? Can I do something? That's it. I mean, pretty much like how I don't know how to fix valve, or I don't know how to fix bowel. I don't know how to remove pain. And maybe there's part of me that believes that it can, and then it's my kind of unfulfilled miracle of not being able to like save everybody around me from their suffering or hardship. And so I have to and as a result of that, I'm also stuck with this because I have to wait for this to end. And there are not many ways it can end. The person either heals or dies, or I move away, right? Like basically three maybe more solutions, but those are in my toolbox. And
those physical solutions is not exactly like also shifting what, like bringing your attention, like this was so beautiful because it brought this up, this beautiful thing inside of you that you get to look at now. And when that shifts, it won't seem like there's just three choices anymore, because the perception of it will shift. So being with that helplessness that breaks on when other people are sick, I can't help them and they're going to die, and it's wait for it's all that feeling in you. That's what got brought up, and that's what you look at, and that's what's going to shift.
yeah, it does. Yeah, I think this is like this is a new perspective, and I because I've been feeling like I feel there's like this nuclear reactor in my stomach now, and it's been hot and it's been burning, and as I talk, it feels like I sort of bring all the parts that are part of this irritation, and maybe, and as many as I can bring, because it seems like it's a tree. There's like an event happens, and then it just branches out into so many beliefs, decisions, and blah 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 blah. And I'm just trying to see as many as as I can reach, and just bring them back to me, and I'm just doing it out loud, as opposed to just when I'm with myself and I don't have these kind of triggering situations or activations, then I yeah, there's also this expectations that people, spiritual people have. Yeah, they should be, compassionate, and they should be nice, they should be but that, like, you'd probably sense it if I went like this and just said that it is but I also believe I used to think that the what body can do is just limitless, and I would believe it. And I think I'm also disappointed in a way, because I didn't, at that point, I didn't find a way to connect with that knowledge. Like, I didn't learn to fly. I didn't learn to grow it like a missing tooth. I didn't learn how to make my hair more beautiful, or my eyes, fix my sight. I thought I knew how to do it. I was like, that's 100%, 100%. I just need to find that very knowledge, or guru or whatever. And then, but it's been like many years, and I have done nothing, like nothing. And I do drink, painkillers. I take painkillers. I go to regular doctors for the checkups. That's it. Like, so I have this like running in parallel, this woo-woo thing, which part of me believes, and my wife is not like that. She doesn't. She's like, here's the pill. Take the pill. Don't talk to the wound. Just patch it. Band-aid it. Don't try and send love to it. Just bam, or go to doctors so they stitch it up. Whatever. So I think I am disappointed that I haven't discovered this kind of magician inside of me. who is like able to, you know, ET, like, you know, the ET,
Mm.
the alien, from the movie. Yeah. So I just touch it and fixed. Touch my eyes, fixed everything. Fix. God, yeah, done. No. So I'm also a loser in this respect.
I think we've all got, it's doubt that does it, and we all have doubt within us.
I don't know
all
what
have-
that.
I think we all have that knowing that we can heal. And then we're stuck in this slow version of reality and all the lies that we can't. And then we get around people like Alan and Yvonne that are actually healing. And it's like, well, wait. So I say you're not there yet. But the more we realize who we are, maybe that comes with the package. Maybe not. Maybe we're remembering something.
I can relate to
Before
what
we-
you're saying. I can definitely, I hadn't thought about it until you said it for a long time. But yeah, look, I was going to regrow this finger at one stage. I was going to fix my teeth and my eyesight, all exactly what the same you were talking about. Yeah. What's changed? It's not like those things can't happen. But it's almost like, who cares? I just, the fact that I've got to wear glasses, the fact that I've got false teeth, the fact that I've only got half a finger, totally minor inconveniences, every one of them. So I don't know really what's changed. It's not, I guess there is now a belief that those things are not going to happen, at least not in the way, but the idea of magic is still there. That magic that is the unexplained scientific stuff that happens, and it's just not there in the way of me being able to regrow my teeth or fix my eyes. But maybe it is. I don't know. Yeah, it's something's changed, but it's not. So it's not gone, but it's. I say more realistic. That's a crazy statement, isn't it? Yeah.
It's interesting because I wanted to grow my teeth and fix my eyes and do things too, and make my body like a certain way, shape, and all this stuff. And I don't care so much anymore, but there's something about, like the heart valve or the polyps or these things that we think that we're cornered into thinking like, okay, I could actually, this is more serious than just how much I weigh or if I have to wear glasses. That can corner a person into opening in a certain level of surrender that reveals.
Surrender.
Yeah, it's a surrender. And then what shows up is what was in the way of constricting the heart, what was in the way of the valve, what was just, it opens up something that gives all this information that ends up healing this body, which is only a reflection. The body's just a reflection in form of what we think and believe. So we just don't have to do that. I'm not willing to work hard enough to get rid of glasses. But maybe if I had a valve that I wanted, maybe then I would be, and life surrenders us. We don't surrender. I don't have to explain that. We don't do anything, but life expands us, life evolves us, life surrenders us. So whatever shows up that it's time to show up is when it shows up. And in the meantime, I got to put some glasses on when I want to see something close.
4 months ago, I was feeling, I don't know if I said this earlier, I was feeling like death warmed up. I didn't even have the energy, and I was afraid to go out to the local shops. And I was frightened. and I was so anxious and I was fearful of the future and what was happening and what I'd had wrong with my heart. And then through someone I heard about Eva, that's her name. And I respect this person so much that I went to her. And then I just, as soon as I connected with her, I felt completely, she was just right for me. I felt it was right. And so I didn't know that I could, I don't even know it now if it's altered the valve, only that it is not as bad as it was. But all I know is that I feel different. I feel, even if I might die of it, I just feel happy. And I don't know how that happened.
Beautiful.
And not all the time, because stuff comes up, and then I look at it, and some big stuff has come up from the past, and I'm find myself getting sucked into it, and then I start to talk in my head what I will say to this person, and then I realize, oh God, and it's not easy, but moving it away. Because I prefer this any day, every day. Even though my heart doesn't feel right. And quite often, it doesn't feel, I know it's not right, but it's not operational like it should be, but yeah.
It's so odd how it stops becoming important, and then it doesn't matter if it heals or not, and then a lot of times it heals. It's like, can't understand it.
I think also, when I think about the heart, I spent probably the best part of 20 years feeling completely trapped and very unhappy, living with someone and in a place I couldn't get out of. And that's a lot of years to feel angry and trapped, and it's possibly contributed towards the heart. I couldn't feel love, I just felt anger, and it affects the body. And then I managed to move out because this particular person that I hated, well, not hated, I don't hate anyone, but who I was so angry with, one day I looked into their eyes and I saw their plight, their fear. I saw, and I just felt total compassion for them. And it altered this, how I felt, and I'm still connected to him because he's supposed to be my partner, but he's in France and I'm in England because what's going on here. But yeah, it's yeah.
Beautiful.
I think that's all I can say, and I've rather said a lot, too much maybe, but I wanted to share.
But even speaking without the words, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful, even with the words. I feel it. It's beautiful.
And I see people arguing, and I'm pointing this way, it's my family, and they're going through a very difficult time at the moment. And I want to say, hey, where's the love? And they all kind of go, oh yeah, Mom, get out of here. But you can't really, you can only just do it and be it and hope that it's contagious.
Yeah.
Am I making you feel peculiar, Andre?
Well, I think
Is it all,
feeling
am I over the top?
peculiar is my signature. So no, it's okay. No, I think what Jenny's saying, what you're saying, I just feel it. And then also I feel what you say when you are, it's almost like, oh, I don't want to say arrogant, but it's almost like love is looking through your eyes, and it's looking at this world, at yourself, at everything, and it doesn't want to change anything, but it does feel the pain of people who are, including, well, maybe that's hypocrite a little bit in a way, because I don't, yeah. So, like, not wanting and not being able to interfere with the suffering of others, because who am I to judge whether, you know, they need fixing or they don't need, who am I to judge if they are suffering at all, because I'm using my own ruler, my own benchmarks for that, and I have no clue, you know, what's on their plate. But I can, but this I think this, what you describe, I felt it, and it's so nice to look at everything through those eyes. But sometimes I just forget. I have the, you know, I put the blinds on and I go back to suffering, and oh yeah. So,
but it's
so
through suffering that I choose life rather than the opposite. So I mean,
well, there
I
are people
suffer.
here who will tell you probably you don't choose anything, but yeah, but not me.
I know.
I think you choose. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you
I don't know
choose.
how else. I don't know how to put it really.
No,
I don't know.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But no, it didn't make me feel any peculiar, like you said. So I loved it.
It's when I see my sons, I've got 3 sons, and all 3 are actually going through suffering at the moment. And of course I want to fix them. And I had this with you, Alan, some time ago. And yeah, but maybe and I have to face the fact that they might have to go through this suffering. But it doesn't mean to say that suffering brings you to joy and love. It might not. You might just keep on suffering. You don't know. I don't know. I think it was the heart thing that made me think, oh, I think that's the thing that woke me up to.
You said you were trapped for 20 years, right?
I felt, yeah, it was maybe more like 18.
So if I asked you like 10 years into it, if I said, are you suffering? Like, do you?
I think I could, well, yeah, I probably would say, because I have a diary. And when I look through the diary, I think, oh my God. And I think I should burn it. But I don't know it. I think I probably, if I trusted the person, I would say, yeah. But then I would feel resentment and I wouldn't know how to get out of it. I would talk about it and I would get lost in the thoughts of it and believe these thoughts. That's the thing. I would believe this story. And that's where the deep suffering was, because I didn't know how to get out of the story. And that's what I see happening with everyone. Everyone's believing this fucking story.
All of us do. All of us do. It's part of the human experience. It's what helps us to, I don't know, somehow, like you said, in the heart And then you woke up out of the, and like, all of us believe our stories and suffer in them. It's part of this seemingly human condition, but it seems to be waking us all up as well. So if we can trust that it has purpose, just like it did for us, my suffering had purpose, and it will for them as well. And it may be in my lifetime or not. I don't know. I don't know how it happened. Yeah.
Somebody once said to me on this subject of wanting to fix the world, somebody once said to me, who are you to take away somebody's suffering? You might deprive them of enlightenment by doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. But it seems cruel, but yeah.
And in actuality, we can't take away someone's suffering.
No, that's not.
You cannot tell someone who believes they're unlovable that they're loved. You cannot. They can't receive it. We can't take away suffering. It's impossible because it's not my suffering. My suffering is trying to change their suffering.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So, Andre, if you can say something that hurts me, I'd really welcome that. I'd look forward to it as an opportunity. Yeah, life's getting a bit boring at the moment. I got nothing to work on.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, it's not like I wake up in the morning, okay, I have to come up with something to offend Vince today, or like, it's just, I think I think it's important for me. Like there's value in this group, and there's value in people in this group. And I think it's my way of sort of taking the temperature, whether it's also my way of, I think there's some I don't know, maybe it's just old stuff and some new stuff, because like you said, you liked something related to me, like and I thought, and I think I mentioned it to Jenny as well, that what happens if Vince stops liking me, like if, oh fuck, this Andre guy again. I used to like his voice, but now it's just ugly. He's just screeching, and it's I don't like to see him. And then and I sort of become this is not addicted, but I become sort of alert to, maybe it's just my thing. If someone says I like you, oh, there's gonna be I don't like you at some point. And that part I want to avoid, because this is shitty one. The I like you is good. Can we keep that? But can we not have the I'm disappointed, like, and so I think when I say something like, oh, Vince, it's kind of, I admire I respect your life path, and I think you're a great guy, and I do love you, but in my way. But when you talk about this particular moment, when you talked about disease and polyps, this brought up this in me. It didn't bring up joy or excitement. It brought up anger and irritation and maybe disgust and like Jenny said, this is, and I do see this now as my own sort of response to whatever, to your story, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just my response. It's not about me trying to make you not what you are, or silence you, or like, oh no, tell me something nice, but more like me having the right, or me having the right to have my authentic response to that, and then whatever comes after that, and you having your authentic response to, maybe to like saying, you know what, yeah. Like, so I know it is scary to be fully authentic, and to say what I think or what I feel, but also being able to to take in whatever comes after that, what happens with other people when you say it to them, like being able to take not take responsibility, but be able to at least try and stay 1 minute longer, 2 minutes longer, and see what happens next, and until you're able to be fully with whatever is, with everything you've got and everything I've got, and not seeing it as me trying to destroy you, or you trying to destroy me, and then someone has to win, someone has to lose. But sometimes me hitting, when you say something, it hits my kind of triggers or my sort of weak points or my pains, and then I'm like, oh shit, my natural, or not natural, my trained or conditioned response would be just to run away. You just flip you off and run away. But staying with you and with my feelings and with your feelings, at least that's how I see it, is important. And I want to have this kind of braveness to be able to say whatever I have, and like in when I'm in contact with you, but also seeing where it's coming from, like and then also being able to see you, what happens to you after I do that. Yeah, I guess that's so. I don't want to hurt you on purpose or anything, but but I do want to be authentic. That's my kind of.
Absolutely, yeah. And I love that. I want you to be authentic. I want you to be able to be authentic.
Mhm.
And I'm, when you say that there can be some fear around that, it's not, it's either not in my memory or it never existed. I have no idea, but there's no fear about, there was, I can remember now worrying about how others perceive me. It's just a head shake. I just go, wow, yeah, that used to be the case. See, now I because I have no control, because the way I look and the way the words that come out, my tone of voice, my all, that just happens. So I mean, I have no control over that. I have no desire to have control over that. So if I put my foot in my mouth and make a really big mistake, I usually these days find that somewhat amusing that that's happened, and I wonder about what the intricacies of it are, but never I don't apologize for it, because it's not something I did on purpose. Just the way it is. So I'm hoping you will find that ease of expression as well. Now that doesn't mean that I'm rude or obnoxious in other social situations. I don't have to think about that either. But that particularly here under these circumstances, that authenticity can go to an extreme.
What do you mean extreme?
Well, I guess I was saying that although I don't feel like I put constraints on how I am in a social situation, that's not here, but I mean out there, if I was out with some friends or other people, whatever, a social situation, although I don't feel like I put constraints or shape that, I probably do. Some situations I won't say fuck. Other situations I don't mind saying that. So there is a shaping that goes on, but it's a very relaxed kind of shaping. I'm still weird Vince, regardless of where I am. And it's part of your authenticity that excites me, that makes me feel good about you. The fact that you can allow tears, you can allow what you're feeling and what you're thinking to come out. That excites me. That's pretty good stuff.
Thank you.
Mm.
I actually
If only Don
felt
was more like you.
what?
If only Don was more like you.
Don?
Yeah, that's what I hope every week.
Mm. Sorry, Andre, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
No. That when I started talking, and then when everyone started to, well, when it becomes like people, when you started to chime in, when you started to share your experiences, and I felt more relaxed now. I don't know. I just felt like, oh, like there's like I felt more freedom. I felt more freedom from my spontaneity as well. Like, oh, I can be more vulnerable too. I can, like, I think for me, like, the whole atmosphere became less plasticky. Maybe that's the word Jenny used. More sort of meaty. I don't know, like more, real, raw, natural.
Mm.
And I love
Yeah,
that.
so when you say who needs this, we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I gotta go, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
I just want to hear from Don before we go. Haven't heard from him for a while.
Yeah, thanks, Vince. Yeah, I wasn't even sure if I would say anything, but I just what'll I even say? I've kind of calmed down a bit since we started the meeting. I just briefly, I don't know, I feel disheartened. I mean, not the first time, but things seem to, I guess, it feels like I get like 2 days of clarity followed by 3 or 4 weeks of complete confusion. And when I look back to the clarity, I kind of go, well, when even was that? Have I made any progress? What am I doing? Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I'm just back from, like, I'll just tell you where it is, and I don't have to even go into it, but just to say where I'm at. I'm just back from 2 weeks in France, south of France, which sounds wonderful, right? With Luciana and Lubo, and they're so lovely and nice, and a couple of other people as well. And you know them, don't you? Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You do? Yeah. And they're so kind and nice and everything and supportive. And it's like this story. It's a story, but I mean, it's like a very flipping familiar story. It feels like I got to almost resolution or clarity in 2 places, but didn't quite get there. And really important places where one of them was the big fucking story, which was really actually exciting, really. For like 10 minutes, Lubo had helped me to, I see the really kind of the victim part of me is all upset and really feels miserable. And he managed to help me find the other part that kind of, somebody was talking to me about a year ago or something, or 6 months ago, about embodying the perpetrator, and I wasn't sure how to do that exactly. But for 10 minutes, I became the one who is telling the really heavy fucking story about how terrible everything is and giving myself grief the whole day. And for 10 minutes, it was like a horror movie or something, where this big flipping demon kind of came down out of the woodwork. And then I could see behind it to what seemed like real life, which is just fine if this bloody big story wasn't being told all the time. And I thought, oh, if I can work with that part of me, and stop believing it, because it's just, I don't even see it. It just feels real. If I just saw it for 10 minutes, I was like, oh my gosh, I was really happy for 10 minutes going, I can see this now. This is just a part of me telling a story. And if I can work with that, I can, I don't know, something, I don't have to believe it all the time without even noticing it. And then it snapped back into place 10 minutes later because I got distracted. And then I couldn't get back to it again for 2 or 3 days. And I was like, oh, back to another, I have to wait for another several weeks or months before I can get back to working with that again. And I had another one a bit like that, where I was doing some breath work, and there was a seemingly last little identification piece of me in there in thought going, we're just going to go hold on in thought identification here for the rest of this breath work while everyone else is going into their emotions. We're just going to stay here identified with thoughts for the rest of this. And I kind of got down to the last one. I thought, that's good. I at least have identified this seeming part of me. And I thought that's really good, because it felt like there was a little story there. I could work with this, but I didn't get through with that either. I've gone to so many breathwork things at weekends where I'm the only one who seems to be still stuck in their thoughts at the end of 4 hours of flipping breathwork. Everyone else is screaming and crying and shouting, and I'm like, yeah, I was in my thoughts the whole time. And I just got down to seemingly the very last one. So there's 2 places where, like, wow, these are really fundamental blockages or confusions that I've had for a really long time, and I should be maybe cheerful that I got that much. But I'm still back to the same story of, I have a better understanding, but I don't feel any better because I didn't resolve either of those 2 things. And I'm sick of having a better bloody understanding and not feeling any better and not resolving things, not kind of clearing it or letting it, healing it or releasing it or whatever the hell it is. I have a better understanding. So I came back from France going, fuck, I'm back in rainy, cold Ireland. And I'm going, just feeling a bit miserable for the afternoon after all that. Yeah, there we go. That's where I'm at this week. And also I'm wishing I could be as cool as Andre. Obviously, that's yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, well, this is the first time I've heard you say 2 days out of 7 are good. I haven't heard you say that before.
2 days out of 7. Did I say that? That sounds very optimistic for me. I said I had 2 days, but I think I was saying I got 2 days every now and then, but it isn't out of 7. I don't know. 2 days every now and then I get weeks of confusion. So I don't know. I do get some good days of clarity, but they just followed by a lot of yeah.
So let's get those days of clarity and dump a bucket of water on them. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just
I don't understand how you can have a resolution, because
Oh,
I don't understand how one can have a resolution about one's life. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I'm saying that it seems to me I observe other people doing whatever they do, like therapy things, group therapy things, and they seem to feel that they seem to go through stuff and come out the other side with a sense of relief, going, oh, I felt my way through that and I feel a bit like I've processed something, like I've understood something properly. I've felt that. And it went through my system, and now I feel relieved that I really felt that and I went through. And I'm just going, yeah, I went in there and I sort of understood it, but I didn't really feel it, and it's still stuck. And I don't mean to resolve my whole life. I just individual items that I go and approach in meditation or therapy or something that I get some intellectual understanding, but not a sense of relief or lightness. And I have experienced that during my life, but in the last 10 years.
But surely it's just, a resolution is just a story. It's just a belief in, it's a story, isn't it?
It might be. I'm kind of looking, I feel I'm looking for something other than a story. I'm looking for a feeling or an experience of this is lifted off me. And I feel I have experienced that sometimes in therapy over long periods where something clarifies and it just feels like a weight lifts off my shoulder. I just feel different. I'm not in my mind.
There's no resolution. Sorry to interrupt, sorry.
Final resolution, you mean to the whole of my life?
There is no resolution, surely.
Yeah. Well,
is there a resolution? How can there be?
To life, you mean?
Suppose?
You just mean to life itself, you mean, is it? No resolution for that.
I can't see how there could be a resolution to life or
I'm not no, I wasn't planning to resolve life.
To your life.
Yeah, I don't think I was planning to resolve all. I mean, it'd be nice, but I wasn't planning to resolve
life.
that. But yeah, no, but what I'm saying is there's a few obstacles here and there, it seems to me, that keep me stuck in my head and seem to kind of always keep me confused, so I can't be present seemingly or calm down or feel relaxed. And I'm just trying to, sometimes I see the last few remnants that I think and I'm going, oh, that's the last little bit of thought identification. Can I just drop that for 5 minutes and not be in my head, please? And that's all I'm asking for, not to resolve life and death. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, I just feel there's too much thinking going on. Sorry.
Ugh,
Don would
never heard
approve.
that before, Don.
Don, I don't know if it's gonna be useful, but this, like what you just said, has been my experience completely. When I would just go to these retreats or stuff, and people would be, climaxing there and catheterizing or putting catheters and all that, and I would just
Yeah.
sit there and like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I'm not feeling anything. I don't see anything. Like, have no clue. Like, I just and later on, I had people who would look at it, at least for me. I mean, things started to change themselves. Like, I didn't plan anything, any of that, and I just suffered through all of this. But I think what was important at some point is someone actually said, just be with this. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be anything. It could be like, I don't feel anything. Just be with it. For me, this was like a game changer. Just call it resistance, call it whatever. It doesn't matter. The name doesn't matter. Just be with it. Because this is also important, because it's not something that like you have to get rid of it to get to something else. This itself is like the thing. Like that's what worked for me. And I started to relax more because I didn't want to beat myself up to becoming something else, or like transforming, letting go, or or screaming or whatever. No, it's not happening. Something else is happening to me, and I'll just be with it. And it's hard when everyone else is like falling apart around you, but yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. 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 I don't mind. I mean, the whole catharsis thing, I don't think crying and shouting and being angry is very helpful for me. I don't know. I don't mind about not doing that. But what I find with some of the, which is fine, but what I find about so far anyway, the place I'm trying to, I don't want to say, the stuff I'm working with, whatever phrase I want to use, is it seems, I've said this before about people advising not to resist the resistance. And I just find my resistance to be so resistant. Like there's so much energy there just seemingly distracting me in every direction over and over until I don't know where the fuck I am at the end of whatever session I'm doing. I don't know which part I'm working with. I don't know which thought or emotion I'm working with. I don't even know my name at the end of some
That's
of
a
these
good
things.
place to be.
Going.
That's the best
And
place
some
to
of the-
be.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel there must be good confusion and bad confusion. Because it's a weird, it's, I mean, like,
But Don,
yeah,
just to say, you're completely clear about the fact that you're totally confused.
yeah, it's, like, I feel like when I describe confusion, like I've experienced not knowing, sometimes, and like when there's place of not knowing what anything is, presence or whatever, I go, that's okay. I'm happy to not know this. This seems okay. But what confusion, I mean, there's a physical sensation, and there was kind of almost going to sleep and going unconscious. And it's like almost in some way confusion is like knowing lots of different things over and over again. And knowing that I'm wrong, and knowing that I'm failing, and knowing that I'm distracted, and knowing that I'm thinking about money, and knowing that I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. And I'm going sick to death of being in all these thoughts for the hours and hours. And I don't know. Anyway, there we go. That's me.
Boy, I'm glad it's not me.
Yeah. I'm glad it's not you too.
Oh.
But Don, after all this time, since I've known you and
Yeah.
been kind of traveling this little bit with you,
Yeah.
I still feel really optimistic about you. There's not a bit of me that says, God, he's a lost cause. Not a bit. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, you're very good. I know. I mean, it is a story of mine that I don't make progress, so I know that's a story. But like, it does sometimes feel like that, So
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I get that.
yeah.
And I know that we can't do anything to change it. We can extend a hand of empathy and yeah, travel with you, but yeah, it will happen. It will happen, you know. Your persistence is probably the biggest teller that you will get somewhere.
Yeah, I kind of can't help that, I think.
Mm.
It's yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah.
But so I repeat myself, of course, and that's all right. I've been doing that for a long time. But it comes to mind to again say to you that part of the problem, now that's just a concept, so there's no such thing as an actual problem, is your desire to get away from these unpleasant places that you find yourself in. But the only way out of them is through them. You've got to face them. You've got to accept them. So once you accept them for the shit that they are, they will change. Whatever you want to get out of it, they'll persist.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know that, don't I? But I mean, I had a story. Oh, for fuck's sake, I feel I can't even use English. What I'm saying is that one of my concerns often with just feeling what I'm feeling, whatever, is that I'm just generating negative trip all day with my thoughts and believing stories constantly, and that's what's happening. And if I just go, I'm just going to face my stuff, all I'm doing is creating negative shit all day long with stories. And if that's all I'm doing, am I helping myself by believing that stuff increasingly all day long? That's that's my kind of part of my confusion or whatever, I don't know, my effort is going, if I can just feel feelings or feel whatever, even if it's terrible, I'm up for that. But if all I do all day long is tell myself negative stories and believe them and make myself feel worse, I don't know how much use that is to me.
Yeah. So if we accept that this is what's going on for us now, and the result is the way I feel, that acceptance means that I'm not going to try and change it, right? But what it means is that I've called it an it. I'm not going to try and change it, right? So that means that straight away I'm not inside it anymore. I'm outside it. And so when I go, well, let's look at this. What is it that I'm talking about wanting to change? And when we look at it, we're looking at it from the outside. And that's the difference. All of this suffering, all of this pain that you experience happens while you're looking at things from the inside.
I feel I shouldn't just say the immediate thing that comes to my mind. Well, I'll just do it anyway.
Yes,
what I would say is that's exactly what I was saying about this perpetrator thing. That's exactly where I am. I'm inside it and I can't get out. And I know I'm inside it, but I can't even see it. I live inside the story and I can't get out of it. I can't even see the story.
When you say you can't get out of it, are you able to, are you in a position to be able to dispassionately describe what it is that you're locked into?
I can kind of point to it, but it comes into, I can say vague things like I'm looking through a negative dark lens, and I can tell there's all kinds of stories coming at me from every object about, you know, I should plan better, I shouldn't be so lazy, I should save me money. There's all this criticism coming at me from all directions, triggered off of all kinds of objects and people and things. And I kind of know that's a big, and I just say that's what I saw last week when I was doing that little exercise with Lubo. It's like, Jesus, all of those stories, it seems like a million, well, I don't know, dozens of stories. We're all embodied in one person, one like seemingly one like inner child, whatever you want to call it, part. And I, for the first time ever, saw that part that told all those stories that are basically a bunch of my dad's stories. And I was able to see that coming down out of the woodwork for once, and see outside of it for basically for the first time ever, see outside of that set of stories for 10 minutes. and then it snapped back into place, and I feel like I'm still in it. I know in theory that I'm in it, but everything still looks like, I've heard me before saying, I think I'm talking for too long, right? That feels true to me now because I'm in that story and it feels true. And I feel like I'm spending too much money on such and such. It feels true because I'm in that story. So, yeah, I was delighted on Thursday to see outside that story for 10 minutes, and I'm desperate to get back outside it so I can watch it
Okay, yeah,
with
yeah.
some kind of objectivity.
So again, there's this desperate to get outside of it.
I know.
Same trap. Yeah, but remind yourself that you did experience being outside it, even if it was only for 10 minutes, and that consequently that changes you and enables that to happen more easily. Next time it will happen. It will happen again. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully it will. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll keep yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
So Brian, we're just about to wind up, and we started this session 2 3/4 hours ago. So yeah, just in case you had trouble with the time zone thing, but there we are. Yeah.
I'm always late. Forgiven.
Are you going to make eggs?
I will, yes. It's
What do you do? Do you poach them?
yes, yes, poached eggs, yes.
Very nice. Whenever you say that, I always think, oh, I could just eat a couple of poached eggs on toast.
Yes, yeah. It's a good one. Yeah.
And it's nice to be talking with you, Andre. I mean, I know we were talking before. I don't know. I feel better about our connection today.
Yeah, I liked it too. I liked our little what was it? Rendezvous? No. The performance? No. What was the word? Anyway, interaction? No.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Whatever. Whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
Like when Don said, "Oh, I don't," you said something about your command of English, and I'm like, because I'm in Canada now, and in Canada they, and in North America they speak with the and I kind of I'm used to that, but I don't really like it. I don't like saying motor, partner, motor, all that. So for those particular words, I usually try and switch to, I say partner, and then, but I don't want to keep it for the rest of the for the rest of the language, just for the words with the R's, and then I'm like, what do you speak English? Like, what kind of English do you speak? And I'm like, oh fuck, I don't know, I have no clue. So yeah. So when you said it, I could like, oh, if this guy says he has issues with English, I'm like, oh, what should I do?
Whatever.
It just dawned on me, guys, to say this, that we're very lucky to have this community, this space. It feels very nourishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Dennis, what have you nourished today?
Well, I've written a few things down on my notepad, which I will reflect on later. I don't know what I've learned today, to be honest.
Yeah, well,
it's good to talk.
Most of those things happen afterwards. They happen when we're not expecting them. They happen when we're busy doing something else, living life.
Yeah.
Integration. All right. Well, I will call it an end today. But anybody that I would hate it when anybody feels missed out on. So speak up if you've ever got something to say. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. See you later.
Oh, thank you, Vince, and thank you, all of you.
Yes, absolutely. All of
Night
it.
night.
Thank you,
Thanks.
thank you.
Bye.
99.